Hey everyone. All right, so it's time to get started on CSS. This is pretty cool. So we've done a little bit of HTML. We have a sense of these elements, and we're going to jump in now to CSS. So what is CSS? You don't need to know what it stands for. Look it up if you want. It doesn't matter. It's just another type of code, kind of like HTML, that tells the browser what to do with certain information. Now, CSS only works together with HTML. It won't do anything without HTML. And it's basically like a type of syntax. Again, there's that word. It's a way of writing some specific instructions so the computer, so the browser, knows different styling information to give to the HTML. In the early days of the internet, before there was something like CSS, everything would just look kind of like it does in our calculator right now. All the buttons would look the same. All the inputs would look the same. The headers would look, you'd only have like 2 or 3 different fonts to choose from, really. And everything would look really basic. Sometimes you even stumble on old websites that kind of look like this. But CSS over the years has just expanded so much, and lots of design principles have been created. And so we use CSS. It's a really important part of every website, and you have to know it if you're going to be a web developer. And it's totally crucial to making things look the way you want them to look. So CSS, like I said, it only works with HTML. Now we have to then find a way in our CSS to refer to specific elements in HTML. For instance, if I want this button, the equals button, to have a specific color, but I don't want every other button to have that color, I need to be able to tell the CSS to change that one button. Or if I want all the buttons to have a color, I need a way to tell, for CSS to tell the browser that all the buttons should have a color. We need a way to refer to things in CSS. The syntax of CSS is something like, first we write some kind of instruction or like a pointer to tell the browser what we're referring to, what element or tag in the HTML we're referring to, and then we tell it the instructions for how to style it. So let's just try this out, first of all, with something simple. So we can write it right here. Later, we'll separate out CSS into a separate file, and that's totally fine. But HTML has a special tag, the style tag, where we can write CSS right into the same document, so we don't have to worry about that yet. So in this case, I'm going to write button, and that's going to tell the browser that I'm targeting all the buttons. And then I'm going to put these curly brackets, which you're going to see fairly commonly, and we're going to write, let's say, background blue. We're going to do that. We're going to save this, and we'll see that all the buttons change to have a blue background. Now, it doesn't look very good. It looks horrendous, actually. And you can see this little thing in Code Sandbox actually gave us the color blue. That's just a nice little thing that comes, and maybe you'll set that up later when we get to the part of setting up our own code editors on our computer. But you can see here the core of what I'm talking about. We write here something to tell the browser what to target. We're targeting the buttons. And then inside these curly brackets, we write a rule. We write the background, a colon, and then whatever the value is, and then a semicolon. Each of these is quite important. If you miss one of these, it won't turn out right. So if I just change this to background blue, you'll see it gives us a spelling error and it actually doesn't work. And also if I write background blue and I remove that, it will automatically add it in this case because it won't work without it. Now we can write more than one rule, and we have lots of different types of rules in CSS. There's so many, we're not going to worry about going over all of them. That would be inconceivable. I don't even know all of them. But we're going to go over some core ones that we're going to see again and again. So here we have our background be blue. Now, if we want to change the color of the text, that is called color. Now, I don't know why color isn't the background and there's not another one that's specific or whatever, but this is kind of the way it is. You'll get to know it and you'll get used to it as you start using this a lot. So color, I'm going to make it white. Okay, and if I save that, we'll see now the buttons have a white color for the text and a blue color for the background. So we've made a couple changes. Now you could keep doing these in a progressive list of things, and each of these lines is referred to as a rule. So this is a CSS rule, there's another rule, and there's many rules that you can apply to any given element, tag that you're working on. Now, it's really important that we know that there's another way to refer to items in the HTML. If we just had button, we could never pick that equals button in particular. So there's a special way that HTML and CSS kind of work together. So we talked about attributes before. Now, there's some special attributes that you would have seen if we were, let's say, again, looking at Google, and we just inspect this. There's obviously tons of attributes here. One of the core ones is class. You'll see that one has a class, this one has a class, this has a class, this has a class. Class is very, very common, and it's one of those things that we're going to use all over the place. Another one that we don't see there, but we're going to use sometimes, is ID. So how do we apply a class? Well, in this case, I'm going to scroll down to my equals button, and I'm going to say class equals equals button. And we can give it a dash like that. We can also give it an underscore. That's generally what we use to kind of represent a space. We don't want to do a space. That actually is two classes. We've now given it the classes of equals and the class of button. So those are different. So we're going to just have equals button right now. Now to refer to this, we have a special little syntax we can use. We do dot equals underscore button. Now the dot is just saying, it's just CSS's way of doing, oh, there's a class named equals button, and we're going to give it some kind of style. Okay. Now in this case, let's make the background green, and we're going to leave the color as white. So what's really cool here is it changes this to green, but it keeps the rule from the button. So the first rule here, this set of rules, is general. It's for all the buttons. And then this equals button rule is specific, and it overwrites anything from the button rule, but otherwise keeps it. Since the equals button is a button, it keeps the general styles, but then it regards it as more important to apply the specific styles just for that one. Now it's a little confusing. We'll see it at work more and more as we get further in. But you can know that multiple rules can apply and they can overwrite each other. And this can sometimes, as you can imagine, make problems as well. Now, just to go a little further here, there's another way to refer to a specific element. So if I wanted to refer to the C button, I don't have to use classes. I could use an ID. And an ID could be CID button. I'm just making something up here. And to refer to an ID, we use this hash or whatever. So it'd be CID button. It's the same idea, and this time we're going to make the background black. Now, it's the same idea as the class thing. It just is a dot means class, and this hash or whatever means ID. So if we save that, we'll see that it turns black. This one's green. You kind of get the idea. So we're going to be going over quite a lot of different properties in CSS and different ways that you can edit stuff. One more property to just look at is we're going to go class equals main text on our paragraph text, and we're going to change the text alignment. So this is another thing. So main text, and we're going to say text align. We're going to say right. And so now you can see it moved to the right. We can also make it to the center. Now, how do you know what the different things of are CSS? Some of it you're going to learn in this course. How do you know whether it's right, left, center? You Google it. You Google CSS align text, CSS background color, and you're going to find resources on this kind of stuff. Okay, so we're going to jump in a bit more into the next video and start learning a bit more about some other ways, some more advanced ways to apply CSS and some more properties. See you there.